During the COVID-19 pandemic, nurse managers accepted considerable responsibility at great professional and personal consequence. COVID-19 completely disrupted day-to-day hospital operations. Quick mobilization of resources and rapid decision-making is required of strong and innovative nurse leaders. In the next few minutes, you will hear stories of nurse managers' experiences from across the country. The role of the nurse manager is vital to the development and sustainment of the nursing workforce. During the pandemic, nurse managers shared many complex challenges they faced. Any typical stress associated with the nurse manager role were amplified by the pandemic. One nurse manager shared, "I get text messages from staff 24/7, and a lot of it is personal. You carry all of your personal things on your shoulder, and then you're worried about somebody else because their father passed away or they're having trouble with their kids." Nurse managers describe many organizational and leadership challenges associated with managing staff as nursing staff were quarantined or ill with COVID. One nurse manager said, quote, "Staffing was insane with so many people on quarantine." Compounding the staffing shortage due to illness, several hospitals were cutting budgets and closing units, and nurses were deployed to other hospital areas, or their nurse-patient ratio was increased. Moreover, nurses had to ask exhausted staff to work overtime and had to integrate travel nurses into their units. Nurse managers expressed great frustration as they observed the exponential workload that was offloaded to the nursing staff. One nurse manager commented, quote, "Hospital keeping didn't clean the rooms. Nutrition didn't go into the rooms, so nursing was picking up the slack. So many extra people were doing everything. They were housekeeping, they were the nutrition lady, they were everything." Nurse managers reported that their staff were exhausted and required intensive support and reassurance. Many sensed that the emotional needs of the staff required more counseling skills than they felt capable to provide. One nurse manager said, "Basically, you've been a cheerleader, a therapist, and a mom, and an auntie and a sister, and all those things to the staff because it was fear. It was fear of the unknown. That was the big thing." Trying to provide this level of support to the staff was mentally exhausting. Another nurse manager commented, "I felt helpless because all I could do was tell the staff where the resources were that I knew about. I have no background in being able to provide that level of support for them." Nurse managers worried intensely about their staff's ability to both manage at work and at home, feeling the need to always be available to them 24/7. "I get text messages from my staff all the time." Nurse managers face personal challenges. They described no work-life balance with loss of personal time. One commented, "You almost just don't feel like you're enough here. Then you go home and you don't feel like you're enough there either. I don't feel like I have anything else to give." Another nurse manager said, "There's no disconnect. There's never a time when you feel like you can unplug and be able to do the things you enjoy." Several nurse managers expressed that the loss of work-life balance and combination of stress had forced them to rethink their career choices. As the pandemic progressed, nurse managers expressed a myriad of feelings and emotions. Several expressed feelings of failure. One nurse manager recounted, "I was feeling like such a failure because I would leave here every day with nothing checked off my list, even though I was so busy all day that I stopped doing that to myself because really it kills you inside when you feel like you're not getting anything done." Nurse managers talked about having to put on a happy face when in fact they were sad. "I feel like staying strong for everybody else when you're not necessarily feeling strong yourself. Feeling absolutely exhausted and burnt out was commonplace. Nurse managers shared their coping strategies. Some reported effective coping, while others reported that their coping mechanisms were failing. Using creative strategies, some nurse managers discovered ways to give themselves time out while at work. One nurse manager told us, "We said to each other, we need a mindful moment." And another said, "I'll just say, like, I'm going to my office to be mindful for 15 minutes and I'll be back." Although nurse managers agreed that the organizations offered opportunities to engage in mental health wellness activities, most expressed that they could not find the time to engage in these offerings. Nurse managers spoke of building resiliency by drawing on past experiences such as the AIDS epidemic and past emergency response situations. One nurse manager said, "With my experience having to deal with AIDS and the outbreak of AIDS way back when, and knowing what that was like, I drew on that experience to be able to help my staff to get through this." Nurse managers discovered resiliency in their years of experience as well as their longevity in the organization. Nurse managers reporting feeling supported from fellow nurse manager colleagues. One commented, "I think having each other, not upper management, not our bosses or supervisors, but really having colleagues who are going through this with you to be able to talk about this and share. Being able to call out at any time in the day to really just share your frustration has probably been the best therapy." Nurse managers reported participating and valuing informal peer discussion. Nurse managers have risen to the occasion, leading their teams through an unprecedented global pandemic. The professional and personal sacrifice has been enormous. It has been an honor to meet nurse managers from across the country. This work is dedicated to your efforts.